Hi, hey Russ here. Welcome back to the shop. Today I want to talk about my portable power station. Now, as you remember, if you watched my portable power series, I developed a portable power pack, and that's based on the Ryobi batteries. And I take several of them, hook them up in parallel to give me up to 20 amps, up to 20 amp hours of power with a 400 watt inverter is what I have on that one. And I have a 12-volt plug-in and that sort of thing. So I can just pick that up and carry it anywhere. And that thing worked great. My last power outage, I was out for about 5 hours or something, or well, whatever it was more than enough power to run my computer during that time period. So I didn't have to bring out the big guns. That's what my portable power station is all about. So let me show you real quick. Right here, this is my miter station. And right here is the counter to the right of it that I built. And underneath here, this is my storage box for all my logging stuff. My big hammer and my files for resharpening my chainsaw. Also my power wedges for splitting wood and things like that. So anyway, and that just resides right here. And back behind it, at the back of this little cubby hole, is where I keep my power station. So, and I don't know if you remember seeing this before. It doesn't look a whole lot different. Basically, I have two batteries in here, 12 volts each. They're hooked in parallel, and they're 35 amp hour deep cycle batteries. These were designed for using like in wheelchairs and things like that. Anyway, so that's my basis. We'll get into talking about batteries here in a minute, about why this is a good setup and why I use this the way I do. But basically, this is all self-contained. What's different between this and my power pack is this has a lot more power because I'm running 70 amps hours now, but I also have another battery that I can slip into here. And I'll go over that in a second. And that'll give me just over 100 amp hours of power instead, if I want. So that's one thing that makes this different than my 20 amp hour power pack using the Ryobi batteries. This is a lot more power, but also it has more output because it has a 800 watt inverter on it instead of a 400 watt. So this thing will do a lot more. The other thing about it is it's completely self-contained. I can actually it has its own battery charger. So I can either fast charge these up if I run them down and then I need to charge it up fast when I fire up the generator. In an hour or in less than 2 hours, I can take, using my high power charger, I can recharge those batteries at a high rate of amperage to get them back up to full charge pretty quickly. So this is actually completely self-contained. In fact, I can be using it and charging all at the same time with this. With the Ryobi, you got to take the batteries out, put them in the charger, charge them up, put them back in the battery pack, and then use them while they're there. You can't do both. And that you can with here. So that's the big difference between the charging station that I have and my portable power pack. So, couple of things I did do with this is it has, like I said, it has the SL batteries here, deep cycle lead acid batteries. And I went with lead acid batteries. Let's talk about that for just a second. I could have gone with lithium batteries or AGMs and different batteries that are out there, but I decided that actually the lead acid batteries here are probably the best choice for what I'm doing. And the reason is that this thing is designed to be pulled down and used, taking it off the power and use it, and it has a lot of power storage on it by having up to 100 amp hours. But I'll run it down and then I plug it back in, and I want to be able to charge it up pretty fast. One of the things that they don't ever tell you about lithium batteries and how the only disadvantage to those over lead acid is you can't charge lithium batteries at a high rate and finish charging them off fast. You've got to take it slow and easy. And you can take lithium batteries and it'll take you 3 times as long to charge them up as it does a lead acid battery. And under the scenario that my Fog's design, and why I have this design the way I did, is that the lead acid batteries, I can run them down and then I can recharge them pretty fast and put it back into use. If a lithium battery system is charged, if the charge on that is fully discharged, it takes a while. You have to charge that up a lot slower, and trying to charge up 100 amp hours of battery power that's lithium will take you a lot longer than a lead acid battery. So the lead acid battery is a much better choice because of what this thing is designed to do. It's designed to be used, need it charged up right away so I can put it back in use. And that's the whole theory behind my fogs, is that this one will give me that fast recharge capability and give me lots of power that I can use for quite a long time in between chargings. So, but besides having the 800 watt inverter with 2 plug-ins here, and it has a USB port on it also, I have 3 cigarette lighter plug-ins here, and I have regular good old-fashioned jumper cables here to be able to use. So if I have something I want to hook up to it and I can hook up straight to these, I can do that too. So it gives me a lot of options for hooking up to things. I can even jump my car with this thing if I want to. Roll it out there and take some jumper cables and hook it up there and jump the car with it at any time. So it's kind of handy. But also, I have a riding mower, and every winter when I put it away for the winter, one of the things I have to do is take the battery out, because I store that in my shed where there's no heat, and I don't want to leave the battery in there all winter. As you know, that would be very bad for an acid battery. Well, guess what? Now I have designed this, so I have this little shelf here that this can set down in there, and this can be put in there, and the other battery will sit right on here. It's the same size as these, and it sits here, and I can take these 2 alligator clips then and hook up to that battery, and then instead of 70 amp hours, I now have 105 amp hours of storage, which makes it even better. So yeah, just go right on by, dog. Anyway, so it makes, and that means that when it's sitting here all winter long, back in here in this little cubby hole, as long as the power is on, that battery will be continued to be trickle charged, just like these 2 batteries. And so that battery will always be topped off on the charging, so I don't have to worry about charging it before I put it back in the lawnmower back in the spring. So that's kind of nice. Also, if for some reason, in a really bad scenario, something happens, I can take these, instead of using this, or if I want to add a power to this, I could, in desperation, take a regular car battery out of one of my vehicles and throw it in here with it and give me more amp hours instantly by doing something along that line. So I get that flexibility to be able to add more power on the fly with my power cables here if I ever need to give me more storage power. Just a thought. Will I need it? I doubt it. I think that right now this is probably more than enough amp hours. If it isn't, I'll rethink the whole thing and we'll see where it goes. But right now, it gives me that flexibility. What I really like is the idea that I now have a place to store my riding mower battery when it's in the winter months, and it'll be protected and fully charged and ready to go when springtime comes. So anyway, I like it. I think it works very well right now. It's a little heavy, so I got to put some handles on it, and I want to kind of dress it up, make it a little prettier. Also, I do want to put an amp meter on here so I can see the amount of discharge that's going on during the time that I'm using it, so that I can kind of get an idea how much I'm drawing on those batteries and how much is left with a voltmeter and an amp meter. So I'll be installing that on here sooner or later. I have a little bit of, I've got most of the fuses and things like that set up for protection, but there's a couple other little things like that I want to do too. I want to put a main power switch on it to be able to shut all power off instantly from a little power switch, a main shut off. And so a couple things like that. But other than that, it is functional. So instead of grabbing my power pack, I can now grab my power station instead and use it if I deem that this is what I need to pull out the big guns instead. So anyway, so now I have it. I have my power pack, which runs off of the Ryobi batteries, and I also have my power station. So if the power goes out, I should have plenty of power to run things in the house that I absolutely have to run. And then when I'm ready to charge them back up, I can fire up my generator and recharge my refrigerators and things like that. And I can recharge my batteries on my power pack and recharge my batteries on my power station and do all that within less than 2 hours so that I'm ready to go again without the generator running if I need to. So anyway, it's a good choice. I think lead acid batteries are probably the way to go for a good power station. A quick story. When I was working on this yesterday, my neighbor across the street came over and was talking to me, and he asked me about this. And he says, boy, he says, maybe I should have one of those. If you remember, I mentioned that last week my lost power through the night. It went off like 1 in the morning till about 4 in the morning or something. And so, one thing I noticed that I missed having a fan while I was sleeping. And so since then, I cured that. Well, it was so funny. He was telling me, he says, I got to have one of those too. And I said, why? He says, he uses a CPAP machine all night long. And he says that when the power goes off, he can't sleep because he can't sleep without a CPAP. And I thought, this thing actually is a pretty good idea. If you have a CPAP machine and your power goes out, this is probably something that would be nice to have, because my power pack, like I said, it has about 20 amp hours. Most CPAPs run somewhere around 3 to 4 amp hours is what they run. The power draw means that the Ryobi pack will only last about 4 hours, whereas this thing would last 10, 12, 14 hours. So you're going to be able to use this all night long with your CPAP if the power goes out. So something like this would be pretty handy to have around, have your own power station. So, and let me tell you real quick too, while we're talking about the power station. One of the things I was looking at is if you wanted to make your own power station, I did this because I had most of this stuff that I just acquired. And I've had the battery charger for 15 years and things like that. So anyway, if you want to make your own, you got to start from scratch. I'm thinking Harbor Freight sells several different power packs. They sell a regular small power pack with 2 battery cables and some USB port capabilities on it, and you have to plug it in and charge it. And that runs on a lithium battery, and it has 17 amp hours on it of storage. And then they have 3 others, a 3-in-1, a 4-in-1, and a 5-in-1, which gives you, depending on which one you get, you also have the jumpers, you have the USB, you have the 12-volt plug-in cigarette lighter, you have an air compressor, and on the 5-in-1, the biggest, most expensive one, you also have a 200-watt AC inverter. So it has everything that this has, but again, it only has about 18 amp hours of storage capacity. So it doesn't have enough energy to run a CPAP, let's say, for example, for 8 hours while you're sleeping at night. But it's a good start. And I'm thinking for one of my projects about portable power, even though it's not a real popular video for people to watch, and I think that probably as you learn more and more and think more and more about why would you need some kind of portable power station, there's lots of different reasons why you might need something that has a reasonable amount of power to it, like a CPAP. I never thought about that since I don't have to use one anymore. But I think that Harbor Freight 5-in-1 might not be a bad choice for a good start. But I think that I'm going to probably end up buying one of those just for fun. And I'm going to see if I can actually take it and tap into the batteries that are in there with additional batteries, and maybe make a little case for it that goes under it and bring it all together and put it on wheels like I did this, and actually convert that 5-in-1 to having something along the line of maybe having somewhere around a 70 or 100 amp hours of power, as opposed to having only 18 amp hours of storage. And I think I can do that. And the question is how quick does something like that charge back up? Because that's, again, one of the things that would be key, is that you want to be able to have the capacity to be able to charge that back up in less than 2 hours. And that's the reason lead acid batteries are a better way to go, because lithium, you got to just do it low and slow on the charging. So the more amp hours you're trying to put back into a battery system, the longer it's going to take. Whereas on an acid battery setup, you can crank 20 even 50 amp hours into that for a short period of time and get a real quick charge on that in a very short time, and then just top it off at a lower rate. But you can fully charge an acid battery a lot quicker than you can a lithium. So, and I think it's easier to hook them up in series or in parallel and use them to add amp hours of stored power with lead acid batteries. That's much easier to do than it is with lithiums. There's a lot of rules that you have to follow that I'm not even going to get into now. So be careful if you're going to do something like this and use lithium batteries. And remember, there are some disadvantages. Most importantly, though, I think that I really want to try to do that. So tell me what you think. Or maybe you have the Harbor Freight and you've done something like this. I'd love to hear about it. Or maybe you have one and maybe you can answer some of my questions before I buy it to see if that would even work on one of those. So anyway, that's just a thought. I actually wanted to show you my new power station. I finally got it up and running 100%, so it is functional, even though I'll be doing some final touches to it. Might make it look prettier rather than ugly. Nah, I have a tendency to do ugly without any problem. So I can do pretty, but sometimes I can do ugly. But if you make yours and you make it pretty, I'd love to see it. Actually, even if it's ugly. Anyway, I am rambling on. I don't want to do that. If you have any questions, comments, or any thoughts about anything we've discussed here today, just leave them in the comments. If you learned something here, or you like this video, hit that like button. That helps me to keep going, make more videos. So, most importantly though, come back again because we're nowhere near done around here. Thanks. And we'll see you again very soon.